In this module, we're going to look at some ways to try to spot machine translation. So machine translation is an attempt by the translator to use a program or an online service such as Google Translate to do the translating for him. Now, BLI doesn't pay for this kind of translation. It pays for human translation. And so it's important for, especially for first-time translators, to try to see if they are using this kind of method to translate, which is spelled out in the translation requirements that this is considered to be a breach of contract and that their work will be rejected. So what I've done in the past is take several samples, different random spots in the translation, and take the text and compare it with something that would be generated from a machine translation. So here's the PDF of Volume 2. Talks about Peter, and we'll go ahead and grab this text from the PDF using a right-click, copy. I'm going to paste that into the English text box right here using right-click and paste. For this particular example, we're looking at French. So I'm going to copy the French over here. I've already got this set up to use French to translate into French. Right click, copy. I'm going to put it in a text file. Right click, paste. Cleaning up a little bit of the formatting and putting a space in there. And then I'm going to go into the commentary that's been provided. And I'm going to select that same portion that he's translated into French. Right click, copy, back to my text document, right click, paste. And again, cleaning up a little bit of the formatting so that I have a better opportunity to compare these two sections. Okay, I know a little bit about French, having studied in high school for 4 years, although I've forgotten much of it. So I'm going to look at this. Now, just because he uses the same kind of word doesn't necessarily mean that he's using machine translation. Well, I see here we have a phrase here, après sa résurrection. That's the same as this one over here. Okay, so maybe, maybe not. He's got the phraseology here, or the order of words rearranged, which Google, this is the top one is the Google, so I'll put a G there. And then I'll put, his name is Freddie, so I'll put an F there for Freddie's translation. He chose to, let's see if that's correct. Yes, that's correct. He chose to put the date or the reference, John 21, at the beginning instead of somewhere in the middle like the Google did. So he says, okay, so I'm using, so he's using this word personnellement. As you can see, the phrase here that he uses that word, but the words around it are different. So that shows me he's probably, okay, this is an interesting thing here. Okay, Google uses restauration and Freddie uses rétablissement there. So he's using a different word, synonym, but a different word there. Interesting that it uses leadership, which I thought was a English word, but I guess they use that in French. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking this is definitely not machine translation. He's using a different word order. He's using different word choices. He's using different phrases to say the same thing as Google does. So he's using. So we can see by looking at this that Freddie is not using machine translation. Uh, as I mentioned before, it's a I think it's a good practice to take several samples in different parts of the translation and do this kind of a procedure here to see if how the machine translation lines up with the purported human translation, and if there is a problem with it being very close or exactly the same as Google Translate, then you know you've got a problem and that needs to be addressed.